I always believed our love was unshakable, until Amanda's phone buzzed at 11 p.m. The message appeared from someone named James VPM. Hope your clueless fiancé doesn't know. I blew up your inbox today. Can't wait for our meeting tomorrow. My hands trembled, my heart racing wildly. What had I discovered? Before I continue, let me know where you are listening from and hit subscribe if you want to learn how I confronted the man who tried to destroy my happiness. Life was good for me at 29. I worked as a software engineer at a small tech company in Seattle, making decent money without the crushing pressure that comes with some of the bigger firms. I had enough time to pursue my hobbies like mountain climbing, reading, and working on programming side projects that genuinely interested me. I was not at the top of the corporate ladder, but I was content with my progress and the work-life balance I had created. I met Amanda on a rainy Tuesday at the local coffee shop where she worked part-time while job hunting. She had just finished her MBA and was looking for marketing positions that would put her degree to good use. I was struck by her confidence when she corrected my order before I even realized I had misspoken. Medium. Americano with room for cream, not a cappuccino, right? You order the same thing every time except when you are distracted, she said with a knowing smile. I was impressed that she had noticed such a detail about a regular customer. After that, I started timing my coffee breaks to coincide with her shifts. Our conversations evolved from casual small talk to more meaningful exchanges about our passions and aspirations. Amanda was smart, ambitious, and had a natural charm that drew me in completely. We discovered shared interests in hiking, true crime documentaries, and a mutual love for spicy food that had both of us competing over who could handle the hottest dishes. 3 weeks of coffee shop conversations led to our first official date at a local Thai restaurant. 6 months later, we were practically living together, splitting time between our apartments until it made sense to find a place of our own. Everything felt right with Amanda. We complemented each other perfectly. Where I was analytical and sometimes too logical, she was creative and intuitive. When she would get caught up in her emotions, I provided the grounding perspective she needed. The day Amanda got the job offer from Pinnacle Marketing was one of pure celebration. It was everything she had worked for during her MBA program. The position as senior marketing specialist came with excellent pay, prestige, and growth opportunities. I took her to the best restaurant in the city that night, genuinely thrilled for her success. To the most brilliant marketing mind in Seattle, I toasted, clinking my glass against hers. They are lucky to have you. Amanda beamed with pride. I cannot believe they chose me over candidates with years more experience. This is going to change everything, Blaine. I had no idea how prophetic those words would turn out to be. A year into our relationship with Amanda, now established in her dream job, I proposed during a weekend hiking trip to Mount Rainier. At our favorite viewpoint overlooking the valley below, I got down on one knee and asked her to be my wife. Her tears of joy and enthusiastic yes made it the happiest day of my life. We decided on a wedding date 8 months out, giving us plenty of time to plan the perfect ceremony. The first changes were subtle. Amanda started working later, often texting that she had emergency meetings or client dinners. I supported her completely, knowing how important establishing herself at the company was to her career. Her wardrobe gradually transformed too. The casual but professional outfits were replaced with designer brands, more makeup, and a generally more polished appearance. The company image is important, she explained when I commented on a particularly expensive pair of heels she had purchased. Everyone dresses like this. You would not believe what my boss Kara wears. Then came the frequent mentions of James, the vice president of marketing. At first, it was professional admiration. James presented the quarterly strategy today. The way he handled the executive team was brilliant, she would say, eyes bright with enthusiasm. He has such command of the room. These comments became more frequent and more personal over time. James said my campaign idea was the best he had seen in years. James took the marketing team for drinks after we landed the Peterson account. James thinks I could be on the executive track within 2 years if I play my cards right. The first time I heard the term office daddy was during a phone call Amanda received while we were making dinner. She stepped into the bedroom, but I could still hear fragments of her conversation, including a laugh and, quote, "That is exactly what office daddy would say." When she returned to the kitchen, I casually asked about the term. Oh, that she waved dismissively. It is just a silly nickname the marketing team has for James. He takes care of everyone, makes sure we get the resources we need, protects us from the higher-ups. Like a dad at the office. It is nothing weird. But something in her too quick explanation left me feeling uneasy. I pushed the feeling aside, telling myself I was being paranoid. Amanda loved me. We were planning our wedding. There was nothing to worry about. As weeks passed, Amanda became increasingly protective of her phone. She changed her password, which she had always shared with me before. If I came into the room while she was texting, she would quickly put the phone down or switch to a different app. Our physical intimacy decreased too. She was always too tired or had an early meeting the next day. One evening, as we sat on the couch reviewing wedding venue options, Amanda cleared her throat nervously. "I have been thinking, Blaine. Maybe we should push the wedding back a bit." My stomach dropped. "Why is something wrong?" No, she assured me, not quite meeting my eyes. "Just with how busy work is right now, and the pressure of planning everything. I think we could use more time." I agreed, wanting to be supportive, but the knot in my stomach tightened. Something was changing between us, and I could not pinpoint exactly what. The annual company celebration at Pinnacle Marketing provided my first opportunity to meet the infamous James. Amanda had been strangely reluctant to bring me to company functions before, always saying they were boring or too work-focused. But this event included partners, so I finally got my invitation. James DeMarco was not what I expected. In my mind, I had pictured an older, fatherly figure based on the Office Daddy nickname. Instead, I met a fit, charismatic man in his early 40s, with perfect teeth, carefully styled salt and pepper hair, and a custom suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He carried himself with the easy confidence of someone used to being in charge. "So you are the lucky man who captured our Amanda's heart," he said, gripping my hand firmly while placing his other hand on my shoulder. "She is quite the rising star around here." "I know how talented she is," I replied, trying to match his confident tone. "I have always believed in her abilities." James smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Talent needs the right environment to flourish. The right guidance. He looked over at Amanda, with an expression I could not quite read, but that made me deeply uncomfortable. We have big plans for her future. Throughout the night, I noticed how James and Amanda interacted. The inside jokes, the lingering touches on her arm or lower back, the way she laughed a bit too enthusiastically at his comments. At one point, I returned from the bar to find them in deep conversation in a corner of the room, standing closer than seemed professional. They quickly separated when they noticed me approaching. While Amanda was in the restroom, I found myself talking to Lisa, one of her colleagues from the marketing department. After a few minutes of polite conversation, I mentioned how supportive James seemed of his team. Lisa nodded, taking a sip of her wine. "Oh yes, especially with Amanda. They have their private meetings almost daily now." She stopped suddenly, as if realizing she had said something she should not have. "I mean strategy sessions. For the new campaign." The awkward correction, and the way Lisa avoided eye contact afterward, only amplified my growing suspicions. The week following the party was torture. I found myself analyzing every text Amanda received, noting how often she mentioned James, tracking how late she stayed at work. I hated the person I was becoming, suspicious and insecure, but I could not shake the feeling that something was happening right under my nose. I tried to talk to Amanda directly. "Is everything okay between us? You seem distant lately." "Everything is fine," she insisted, sounding irritated. "I am just stressed with work. Not everything is about you, Blaine." "Does James always work his team this hard?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Why are you suddenly so interested in James? Are you jealous or something?" I countered. "Do not be ridiculous," she snapped, ending the conversation by walking out of the room. That night, as Amanda showered, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She had been so careful with it lately that seeing it there unlocked felt like finding a rare, unguarded moment. I sat staring at it, battling with myself about whether to look. I had never been the jealous, snooping type, but everything felt wrong, and I was tired of questioning my own instincts. When the notification preview appeared with the message from James VPM containing the words "Clueless Fiancé," my decision was made. I picked up the phone and read the full message. "Hope your clueless fiancé does not know I blew up your inbox today. Can't wait for our meeting tomorrow. The champagne and hotel room are on me this time." My world collapsed in that moment. The message was unambiguous. I scrolled up through their conversation history, finding dozens of inappropriate exchanges, plans for meetings at hotels, and comments about me that made my stomach turn. I felt physically ill sitting there with undeniable proof that the woman I loved, the woman I planned to marry, was having an affair with her boss. When I heard the shower turn off, I made a split-second decision. I would confront this head-on. Amanda walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming to herself. She stopped abruptly when she saw me holding her phone, the color draining from her face. "What are you doing with my phone?" she demanded, her voice rising with panic. I held up the screen, showing the message from James. Explaining what this means would be a good start. She rushed forward, snatching the phone from my hands. "You had no right to go through my private messages. That is a complete violation of my trust." "Your trust?" I laughed incredulously. "You are having an affair with your boss, and you want to talk about trust." "It is not what you think," Amanda said, her tone shifting from anger to something more calculated. "James and I have a professional relationship that sometimes requires after-hours meetings. In hotel rooms, with champagne, I stood up, unable to sit still with the adrenaline coursing through me. "Please do not insult my intelligence on top of everything else." Amanda's strategy changed again. Her shoulders slumped slightly and she sat down on the edge of the sofa. "Fine. James and I have a special relationship, but it is not exactly an affair. It is complicated. Uncomplicate it for me." She sighed, running a hand through her damp hair. "James is influential not just at Pinnacle, but in the entire industry. He has connections everywhere. He has taken a special interest in my career, and yes, sometimes that involves more personal interactions." "You are sleeping with him for career advancement." I felt even sicker than before. Amanda's eyes flashed with anger. "You would not understand. You are content to stay in your safe little programming job forever. You have no real ambition. James sees my potential and is willing to help me reach it. By putting you up in hotel rooms," I was shouting now, unable to control my emotions. "That is not mentorship, Amanda. That is exploitation at best, predatory at worst." "You just do not understand how the corporate world works," she said dismissively. "Sometimes you have to make certain compromises to get ahead. Not everyone has the luxury of doing exactly what they want all the time like you do." "Is marrying me just another compromise?" I asked, my voice breaking slightly. "Another step in your career strategy." Amanda did not answer immediately, which was answer enough. When she finally spoke, her voice was cold. "I think I should stay somewhere else tonight. We both need space to think." She gathered some clothes and essentials, refusing to meet my eyes as she packed. Before she left, she paused at the door. "I never meant to hurt you, Blaine. But you need to understand that my career is everything to me. I have worked too hard to let anything get in the way of that." After she left, I sat alone in our apartment, surrounded by the evidence of our life together. Photos from vacations books we had read together, the save-the-date cards for our wedding that had just arrived last week. Everything looked the same but felt completely foreign, as if I had stepped into someone else's life. I did not sleep that night. I called in sick to work the next day, unable to focus on anything but the betrayal. Amanda did not come home or call. The only communication was a text, saying she would be staying with a friend until things cooled down. Days passed in a blur of anger, hurt, and confusion. My work suffered as I spent hours replaying every interaction, looking for signs I had missed. I lost weight, unable to stomach much food. Friends called concerned by my sudden disappearance from social activities, but I could not bring myself to explain what had happened. After a week of this self-destruction, I realized I needed more information. The uncertainty was eating me alive. I found Lisa's contact information from an old group email Amanda had forwarded to me months ago about a company softball game. "I need to talk to you about Amanda and James," I said when she answered my call, not bothering with pleasantries. There was a long pause before Lisa responded. "I was wondering if you would call. Can we meet somewhere?" "Not over the phone. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop, far from Pinnacle's offices." Lisa looked nervous as she slid into the booth across from me, checking over her shoulder multiple times. "I could get fired for talking to you," she began, voice low. "But what is happening is wrong, and I cannot keep pretending it is okay." Over the next hour, Lisa filled in the blanks about Amanda and James's relationship. It had started almost immediately after Amanda joined the company. James had a reputation for mentoring attractive new female employees, offering special projects and advancement opportunities that inevitably came with strings attached. "It has happened at least 4 times that I know of since I have been there," Lisa explained. "The pattern is always the same. He singles someone out, makes them feel special, dangles promotions and exclusive opportunities, then starts suggesting meetings outside the office. And HR does nothing," I asked. "James is best friends with the HR director," Lisa said bitterly. "Besides, the women usually do not complain. They either play along and get the benefits he promised, or they leave the company. Most choose to leave eventually." "Has Amanda talked about me? About our engagement?" Lisa looked uncomfortable. "She told people at work that your relationship was flexible, that you were supportive of whatever she needed to do for her career. The thought made me physically nauseous. Not only was I being cheated on, but I was being portrayed as complicit. Lisa hesitated before continuing. There is something else you should know. James is married with 3 kids. His wife has no idea about any of this. At least that is what he tells everyone. This new information shifted something in me. The hurt and betrayal were still there, but now they were accompanied by a cold, clear determination. This was not just about my relationship with Amanda anymore. It was about a powerful man systematically exploiting women at the company with my fiancé as his latest victim. I thanked Lisa for her honesty and asked her to keep our meeting confidential. Then I began my research. I spent days learning everything I could about James DeMarco Pinnacle Marketing and their company policies. I found that the company had a strict policy against relationships between managers and their direct reports, even consensual ones, specifically to prevent abuse of power. Through social media, I discovered James's wife Caroline, a pediatric surgeon who regularly posted about children's healthcare causes. Their 3 teenage children appeared in family photos that James proudly shared, portraying himself as a devoted family man. I also connected with 2 former Pinnacle employees through LinkedIn who had worked closely with James. After careful conversations, they confirmed Lisa's account of his behavior pattern and shared their own uncomfortable experiences. Neither had filed formal complaints, fearing industry blacklisting. Armed with this information, I consulted with an employment attorney about the situation, keeping Amanda's name anonymous. The lawyer confirmed that if the company was aware of the behavior and did nothing, they could potentially be liable for creating a hostile work environment. I was no longer the devastated fiancé curled up on the couch. I had a plan, and for the first time since reading that text message, I felt in control again. The following Monday, I took the day off work and went to Pinnacle Marketing's downtown office building. I had not told Amanda about my intentions, and we had barely communicated since she had left our apartment 2 weeks earlier. I wore my best suit and carried a leather portfolio containing printed copies of text messages Lisa had shared with me, testimonials from former employees, and Pinnacle's own company policies. I approached the reception desk confidently. "I have an appointment with James DeMarco," I lied smoothly. The receptionist looked confused, checking her computer. "I do not see anything on his calendar. It must have been set up through his assistant directly," I said, maintaining eye contact. "It is regarding the Peterson account. He is expecting me." The magic words Peterson account, which I had learned was their biggest client, worked like a charm. She called up to verify, and fortunately James's assistant was at lunch. The receptionist, not wanting to disturb a potential client meeting, gave me a visitor badge and directions to his office. James looked up in shock when I walked through his door, closing it firmly behind me. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, standing up. "How did you get in?" "Hello, James," I said calmly, taking a seat across from his desk without being invited. "I thought it was time we had a chat man-to-man. I'm calling security." He reached for his phone. "Before you do that, you might want to hear what I have to say. It concerns those hotel meetings you have been having with my fiancée, and the ones before that with Melissa Taylor, and before her Jennifer Wu." His hand froze above the phone. "I do not know what you think you know. I know everything, James. The pattern, the promises, the promotions." I opened my portfolio and placed several documents on his desk. "I know about the company policy against this exact behavior. I know about your wife Caroline and your 3 kids. I know about the other women who left the company after their special mentorship with you ended." His face darkened as I spoke, transitioning from shock to anger. "You cannot prove anything. It would be your word against mine. And guess who the board will believe? The VP who has brought in millions in new business, or some random jealous boyfriend fiancé." I corrected him. "And I am not alone. I have statements from former employees. I have copies of text messages. I have hotel receipts charged to the company card for rooms that had nothing to do with client meetings." This last part was a bluff, but from the flash of panic in his eyes, I knew it had hit home. James leaned back in his chair, his expression calculating. "What do you want, money? Is that why you are here?" I laughed. "I do not want your money. I want you to stop. Not just with Amanda, but with all of it. Listen," his tone changed to confidential, man to man. "We are both adults here. Your fiancée is an ambitious woman who knows what she wants. I did not force her into anything. She made her choices. Choices under coercion are not real choices," I responded. "You dangled career opportunities in front of vulnerable women while holding all the power. That is textbook sexual harassment." James's expression hardened again. "You have no idea who you are messing with. I could destroy your career with one phone call." Make it impossible for you to work in tech in this city again. Go ahead, I challenged him. But before you do, you should know that if I do not call my attorney in the next hour, she will send everything I have gathered to the Pinnacle Board of Directors, to HR, to your wife, and to several industry publications that would love a juicy story about executive misconduct. For the first time, genuine fear flashed across his face. You are bluffing. Try me. I stood up, gathering my papers. You have 24 hours to resign from Pinnacle, citing personal reasons. If you do, not everything comes out. Your choice. As I turned to leave, James called out, his voice less confident now. Wait. Maybe we can work something out. I can make this worth your while. Name your price. I turned back to face him one last time. My price is your resignation letter on the CEO's desk by this time tomorrow. And if I ever hear about you doing this to another woman at any company, everything comes out. No second chances. I walked out of his office with my head held high, ignoring his continued attempts to negotiate. In the elevator down to the lobby, my hands finally started shaking as the adrenaline wore off. I had just confronted one of the most powerful executives in the Seattle marketing world and walked away intact. But my work was not finished. When I got home, I compiled all my evidence into 3 separate packages, one for Pinnacle's CEO, one for their legal department, and one for Caroline DeMarco. I included a cover letter explaining the situation objectively without emotion, and requested confidentiality for the women involved. I made it clear that I was not seeking financial compensation, just accountability. The next morning, I sent the packages via courier with delivery confirmation. Then I waited. James's resignation was announced that afternoon. The official statement cited personal reasons and a desire to spend more time with family. I later learned from Lisa that the CEO had called an emergency meeting with the board and legal team immediately after receiving my package. James had been given the option to resign quietly or face a very public firing and possible legal action. The company implemented new reporting procedures for harassment within a week, and the HR director who had protected James was reassigned to a different department. They also reached out to the women who had left the company after working with James, offering settlements in exchange for non-disclosure agreements. As for Amanda, she texted me 3 days after James's resignation. Can we talk, please? We met at the coffee shop where we had first met, which felt fitting for what would be our final conversation. Amanda looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes, and none of the polished confidence she had developed over the past months. Did you know he resigned? She asked, after we had sat down with our coffees. I had heard, I replied neutrally. They asked me all these questions about our relationship, she continued, staring into her cup. Someone sent the CEO evidence about James and his history with female employees. They are doing a whole investigation now. I said nothing, waiting for her to connect the dots. Her eyes widened as realization dawned. It was you, was not it? You went to the company. I nodded once. Why? To punish me. To ruin my career. Anger flickered in her voice. No, I said firmly. To stop him from doing this to anyone else. Your name was kept confidential in everything I submitted. Your career is your own to make or break. Amanda was quiet for a long moment. I do not know what to say. I made such a mess of everything. Tears welled in her eyes. I convinced myself it was just how things worked, that everyone did it. That it was worth it for the opportunities he gave me. And us. Was that worth sacrificing too? I asked the question that had been haunting me. I loved you, Blaine. I still do, she said quietly. But I got caught up in this world of ambition and status. James made me feel like I could have everything if I just played by his rules. I lost sight of what really mattered. I felt a strange calm as I listened to her. The anger and hurt were still there, but dulled now, like looking at an old scar. I want to try again, Amanda said, reaching for my hand across the table. I ended things with James completely. I can find another job. We can start fresh. I gently pulled my hand away and reached into my pocket, placing her engagement ring on the table between us. I think we both know that is not possible. Too much has been broken. Because I made one mistake, she pleaded. It was not one mistake, Amanda. It was hundreds of choices day after day to betray what we had. And worse, you tried to make me think I was crazy for suspecting anything. That is not something I can come back from. She picked up the ring, new tears falling. I am so sorry. I am too, I said honestly. I hope you find what you are looking for. As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The relationship was over, but I had found my strength again. The months that followed were not easy, but they were healing. I threw myself into therapy, working through the anger and trust issues that threatened to follow me into future relationships. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the worst of the ordeal. I even picked up mountain climbing again, finding peace in the physical challenge and the perspective that comes from standing on a summit. At my therapist's suggestion, I started a support group for men who had experienced betrayal in relationships. It began as just 4 of us meeting in a community center once a week, but gradually grew to over 20 regular members. Creating a space where men could openly discuss hurt and emotional vulnerability without judgment became an unexpected passion. Through the group, I met Sophia, a psychologist who specialized in relationship trauma. She volunteered her expertise for occasional sessions, and over time, our professional connection evolved into friendship. Unlike my relationship with Amanda, which had burned hot and fast, my feelings for Sophia developed slowly, built on mutual respect and genuine understanding. 6 months after that final coffee with Amanda, I learned that James had divorced and moved to Chicago to work for a smaller agency. His professional reputation had taken a hit, though not the public humiliation he deserved. Amanda had transferred to Pinnacle's Portland office, apparently doing well according to mutual friends. As for me, I was finally able to look back at the whole experience with clarity instead of pain. I realized that despite the betrayal, I had grown stronger and more confident in my own instincts. I had stood up against someone powerful who thought he was untouchable. I had refused to let anger consume me or turn me bitter. The most important lesson I learned was to trust myself. Those initial feelings of unease I had experienced were my intuition trying to protect me, and I had been right to listen eventually. I also learned the true value of honesty in relationships. Sophia and I built our foundation on complete transparency, even when the truths were uncomfortable. Looking back, I can almost feel grateful for that text message that shattered my world. Without it, I might have married someone who did not truly share my values or respect our commitment. I might have continued to ignore red flags and silence my instincts. Instead, I discovered my own strength and built a life more authentic than before. If you have ever experienced betrayal or suspected something was wrong in your relationship, trust yourself. That little voice inside is often right. And remember that even when it feels like your world is ending, you are actually being redirected to where you should have been all along. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most meaningful beginnings. Have you ever had to trust your instincts when everyone else was telling you that you were overreacting? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more lessons learned the hard way. And if you know someone who might be ignoring their own intuition right now, share this with them. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, the truth might hurt temporarily, but living a lie hurts forever.